Gandalf the Grey, Istari servant of the Secret Fire, Elminster Amar, Mistress chosen and wielder of the Silver Fire. Since time immemorial, fantasies and stories of legends and heroes have been at the center of human culture. And dating right back to the beginning are tales of men of magic and practitioners of the arcane arts. He's Wiz and I'm Boomstick, and it's our job to analyze their weapons, armor, and skills to find out who would win a death battle. The Third Age of Middle-earth has begun. The world is changing around all the living beings of Middle-earth, and few remain who lived throughout the Second Age, let alone the First. It's not all bad. A lot of time has passed since the enemy of all that is good, Morgoth, got taken down by the Valar at the end of the First Age. But while he's down for the count, there's still a big problem lurking in the shadows. In their haste to take Morgoth down, the Valar missed somebody rather important. While Morgoth was defeated and sealed away in the void, his top lieutenant had escaped the battles, and was now free to continue warring against the free peoples of Middle-earth. While not as physically or magically powerful, this traitorous Maiar, the Dark Lord Sauron, was smarter, and his cunning had given him a significant edge in the Second Age, before he was finally defeated at the Battle of the Last Alliance by Isildur. But the hearts of men are easily corrupted, and Sauron survived that scenario with his greatest trump card, the One Ring, intact. Now Sauron laid seemingly dormant, in a period of silence. Or was he? In the region of Dol Guldur, within the dark forests of Mirkwood, the shadows of evil were beginning to stir. The forest was corrupt and vile, a sure sign that some malicious presence was beginning to move once again. However, the Valar knew Sauron was still at large and came up with a plan to take him down. In order to deal with Sauron, they sent over a bunch of old guys. Great, Middle-earth definitely stands a chance now. These were far from your ordinary elders, and they weren't men to begin with. Like Sauron, these were Maiar, taking on the shape of aged men to provide wisdom and guide the people of Middle-earth in defeating Sauron. Rather than crush Sauron themselves, they would lead the good peoples of the world to victory. And the wisest and noblest of these wizards, called the Istari, was the spirit known as Olorin. Yeah, while Olorin wasn't as incredibly powerful as their leader Kurumo, he was the kindest and most noble, a trait that got the attention of his master, the leader of the Valar called Manwë. But Olorin wasn't going to fight Sauron, because he was scared of the Dark Lord's power. To be fair, can you really blame him? But Manwë wisely decided that this was all the more reason for Olorin to go, so he could overcome that fear and become even greater. As such, Olorin went to Middle-earth as one of the Istari, choosing to take the role of a wandering wizard who gave knowledge and aid to all who needed him with kindness and compassion. Amongst the elves, this spirit became known as Mithrandir, but to the men, he was called Gandalf. It didn't take too long for Gandalf to become loved by the people living in the West, always helping them in some way or saving them. And while the other wizards tended to take up permanent residences, Gandalf chose to always be on the move, helping or learning however much he could with allotted time to be ready for Sauron. And that paid off not too long after Gandalf arrived. See, the people of Middle-earth, even the wise elves and Istari, thought the source of darkness in Mirkwood was just a Nazgul, one of Sauron's ring wraiths. Really bad news, but not nearly as bad as Sauron himself setting up camp in one of your own forests. But Gandalf suspected otherwise, believing that it was Sauron himself in hiding. And, well, he was right. It was Sauron, that sneaky rascal been hiding behind their backs for hundreds of years, cloaking his power so they wouldn't think it was really him and biding his time. Genius. This obviously couldn't go unchecked, and it was clear that Sauron was beginning to muster his full might, so Gandalf had to move, and move quickly in order to have any kind of shot at dealing with this enemy. First off, Mirkwood obviously needed to be clean, but there was another problem. The region of Middle-earth North was rather weak, the area largely unguarded and inhabited by one big, scaly obstacle. The bane of the city of Dale, Smaug the Dragon. If Sauron got strong enough in time, he could use Smaug to great effect to ensure nobody could stop him. Gandalf opted to solve both problems at once, gathering a company of dwarves led by the rightful king of that area, Thorin Oakenshield, to take Smaug down while Gandalf aided him a bit before heading off with his allies to kick Sauron out of Mirkwood. In order to do that, Gandalf recruited one last ally to help the dwarves. Rather than crush Smaug with brute force, they would need a burglar. So Gandalf grabbed the most unexpected hero in Middle-earth, a hobbit by the name of Bilbo Baggins. You might want to remember him, he's kind of important for this story. After successfully dispatching Bilbo and the dwarves, Gandalf went off to deal with Sauron in Mirkwood. And together, along with another Istari named Saruman and two powerful elves known as Galadriel and Elrond, they actually succeeded in removing the Dark Lord from Mirkwood. Sort of. While they didn't know it at the time, it would later turn out that Sauron, of course, knew they were coming. That the entire thing was actually a trick so we could get to Mordor undetected and keep going from there. Because of course, he had another layer to his plans. While Sauron's cunning trick did work, Gandalf's own plan had some success. While Gandalf was off doing that, Smaug was killed in the north, in no small part thanks to the efforts of Bilbo Baggins. The goblins of the north were crushed flat, the last dragon in Middle-earth was slain, and the north was secure. Not a bad day's work. That whole adventure took a year away, it's not even close to a day. Shut up, Boomstick. But, of course, it was only a matter of time before Sauron came back. And come back he did. This time, Sauron was going all out, ready to reclaim his ring at long last. Fortunately, in one last stroke of fortune, Gandalf was ahead of everyone else in Middle-earth. See, Gandalf's love for the little people in the world paid off, as the One Ring, the item everyone and their dog was on the lookout for, turned out to be in Bilbo Baggins' possession. Even better still, unlike past victims, Bilbo's pure heart was strong enough to go largely untainted by Sauron's darkness, enough to relinquish the One Ring to his heir, Frodo Baggins. As such, the time came for Gandalf to embark on his final journey, becoming part of a fellowship of 9 heroes to destroy the One Ring and end Sauron once and for all. And with Sauron no longer playing around, Gandalf showed the world some of his greater power at long last. And let's be clear, while he looks like an old guy, Gandalf is insanely powerful. He's basically an angel after all, and can change his physical form to present however he chooses. Right. As an essentially angelic force called a Maya, Gandalf's power far exceeds the might of anything within Middle-earth, save for other Maya, of course. He can create powerful force fields around himself and others for protection, conjure beams of light and fire, undo possessions, and even break the weapons of his targets if he so desires. And you haven't lived until you've seen his fireworks. His fireworks are practically gifted with a mind of their own, even forming dragons and flying all over the Shire in a single swoop. Of course, Gandalf's power with fire in particular may in part be due to a special item he owns in secret. You see, one of the 3 rings of power that went to the elves was owned by Sirdain, the shipwright. When Sirdain first met Olorin, he sensed the Istari's purity and virtue, exceeding that of the others. In order to help him with the many journeys that would be in his future, the elf gifted the wizard with his ring, the Ring of Fire, Narya. Not physical fire, though he's certainly adept with that as well, but the fire within the hearts of men, capable of reigniting their drive. Unlike most rings of power, Narya is free from the dark corrupting influence of Sauron. Though it is bound to the One Ring, Gandalf can use it safely without having to worry about the Dark Lord whispering creepy stuff into his mind and trying to corrupt him. And like all rings, it enhances his power immensely, which came in handy when it came time for Gandalf to do battle with the last of the Balrogs, vile Maiar spirits that once betrayed the world to serve Morgoth. The last known one attacked the Fellowship in the mines of Moria, forcing Gandalf to do battle with the fell being alone. And to top it all off, Gandalf won! He blasted that thing clean off the mountain they were fighting on after 10 whole days of straight fighting without any breaks. Magic aside, Gandalf is a master swordsman, wielding his mystical sword Glamdring. That said, he died immediately afterwards. A win's still a win though. But that was not the end of Gandalf, though it was the finish of Gandalf the Grey. The wizard was sent back into the world by the god of all things, Eru Ilúvatar, to finish the job. Now powered up into Gandalf the White. Even if Gandalf is felled, he'll be sent right back stronger than before. This was a definite upgrade from how he used to be. While he was once primarily the purest and wisest, now he was also just the outright strongest, taking down the traitor amongst the Istari, Saruman, without any difficulty whatsoever. Being like the Balrogs that can run it over Mach 30, or just about any foe in Middle-earth other than Sauron himself, was no match for him now. Even if you destroy his physical body, he can reform a new one from just his soul, and good luck destroying that when it's burning with Ilúvatar's secret fire, a kind of soul defense from God himself. It's arguable that Gandalf would even be comparable to other Maiar, such as Osei or Arien. Osei was once responsible for raising the island of Númenor, and Arien is the one who moves the sun daily. But in the end, Gandalf's power was never what truly defined him. He really did want to lead the peoples of Middle-earth to freedom, and never once wavered. Gandalf successfully set the course for beings like Frodo, or the rightful king of Gondor, Aragorn, to triumph over Sauron at last. And Gandalf was there, right on the doorsteps of Mordor, when Sauron met his final fate, putting an end to the Third Age and ushering in the Fourth. He crowned Aragorn the king of Gondor, saw the end of Sauron's evils forever, and accomplished everything he had set out to do. In the end, Gandalf did everything he had been selected to perform. Manwë was right to choose Olorin. For even with his fear, the noble spirit's righteousness proved to be one of the keys to saving all the world once and for all from the great darkness. And now, finally done with his work, Gandalf was allowed to return to his home in the west at last, now as the greatest of the Istari. He never wavered from the trials he faced in the world he feared, and he was a shining light for all around him, a beacon to inspire all that is good to keep up the good fight, a source of wisdom and compassion to aid all the free peoples of Middle-earth, and the world would have surely fallen if not without his aid. Many Valar and Maiar took part in the history of Middle-earth, but few truly made their mark in history for good or evil, and even fewer have left such a history as Gandalf, the seemingly simple old man going about his adventures and giving advice. But he is, in truth, Olorinn, perhaps the most excellent Maiar to ever exist in all of Ilúvatar's creation.
You have no power here, Gandalf the Grey.
I will draw you, Saruman, as poison is drawn from a wound.
The Forgotten Realms, a land of magic, monsters, and adventure. All manner of swordsmen and sorcerers have walked this world, but among those who would call themselves wizards, perhaps none that ever reached the heights of the legendary Elminster Amar. Elminster was the only child of the Prince of Atalanta, Lord Elthrin Amar. Unfortunately for him, his childhood was anything but cushy. When he was still just a young boy, his town was destroyed by the Dark Mage Lord Undoril, and he was left as the sole survivor, forced to watch his friends and family die before him in the attacks. He'd live out his next few years foraging for himself, eventually being taken in by the brigand Helm Stoneblade, and making a living as a mere bandit. But this life was taking its toll on him, and after having his first kill at the age of 16, he ran away, not wanting to walk this path of death. Settling down as a burglar in the city of Hastaro, Elminster would swear to destroy the mage lords that destroyed his town. He was distrusting of all magic users after the attack that left him orphaned, but this prejudiced view of the arcane would soon be altered after Elminster found himself graced by the goddess Mystra, patron of the arcane. Mystra saw potential in Elminster, and helped him open his eyes to truly understand the potential magic had for doing good in the world. Together, the pair would hunt down and kill that bastard Undoril, with Elminster taking on the title of one of Mystra's Chosen. As a Chosen, Elminster would become a truly powerful wielder of the arcane, his hate for magic replaced with mastery. He was also graced by Mystra's Silver Fire, a supernatural, spiritual flame inside him that would burn away any corruption or influence that tried to take root in his mind or soul. He could even project this fire out in a brilliant burst of flame that no barrier, physical or mystical, can withstand. He would spend almost a century studying magic with the elves of Cormensor, changing their views of the outside world with his dedication. Even after 20 years of backbreaking labor, and Elminster's deeds would convince the city to rename itself Mithrandir and open to the world. Still, not all elves liked him, and after numerous attempts on his life, Elminster would leave Mithrandir, now a true master of the arcane, and begin his many adventures. Many quests, delves, and trials later, Elminster had made quite a name for himself, even if he was an old geezer by then. Elminster's name had become virtually synonymous with wizards the world over, but a calamity was approaching. The time of troubles, a divine crisis that dethroned Mystra as the goddess of magic, and severed Elminster's connection to the Weave. The Weave is what wizards use to cast spells. Think of it like the tapestry of reality that magic users can alter to manifest special effects. And some of Elminster's enemies took this opportunity to mobilize against him. Enemies like the god Bane, who manifested an avatar and a whole host of dark forces to kill Elminster. The war efforts were hard fought, but unfortunately for Bane, enough time had passed for Elminster's power to return to him, and the avatar of the Dark God was destroyed. And these avatars are no joke. They're able to go blow for blow with the planet-destroying Leviathan. Hardly surprising, given that even solar angels are capable of cleaving whole stars apart, and the Thief of Legend can even yank them out of the sky. Even quote-unquote normal monsters like the Phython can heat the cores of planets, and the guys Elminster's tangling with are stated to be threats to existence. With his magic back, Elminster was back to his adventuring self, saving the world countless times over. Wiz, we've said he can do a lot of magic, but what can he actually do with this magic? A whole lot, actually. Elminster at his peak was knowledgeable on every spell known to wizard kind, and even invented some of his own. He's got your usual fireballs and lightning bolts, mind control, illusions, all manner of summoning, barriers, teleportation, dimensional travel, the list goes on. Whatever you can think of, he can cast it. He can use polymorph to shapeshift himself and others, Tensor's transformation to give himself master warrior skills, and dragon shape to turn himself into a whole-ass dragon! He's used this power to thwart all manner of rogues, the Red Wizards of Thay, the thieving Zentarim, and countless would-be dark mages. He's brought up many apprentices, all of whom have become masterful mages in their own right. Despite his crotchety demeanor, Elminster is a heart of gold. Everything he does is to help the needy and to deliver poetic justice to tyrants that need laying low. And, seeing as his relationship with Mystra was a little more than friends, not much ever surprises him. Which says something when wizards of his level have access to some of the strongest magic in the world, like the spell Wish, letting Elminster rewrite reality to his choosing. Even lesser spells like imprisonment are threatening, letting him lock away enemies in any manner of dimensional prison, or place them in suspended animation for as long as he sees fit, though it does take him a minute to cast this spell. Maybe even scarier is Unname, letting him utterly remove someone from reality by uttering and erasing their intrinsic true name, rewriting the laws of the universe so that they never did and never could exist. He can stop time, create matter-annihilating orbs, and even create backup clones of himself to transfer his consciousness into so he die, which he of course has multiple of stowed away in hidden spots. He's also a decent fighter, wielding the Lion Sword, a magical weapon charged with thunder. He's got plenty of trinkets making him harder to hurt, a ring of protection, bracers of armor, an amulet of natural armor, a mantle of spell resistance, a ring of regeneration, and a whole host of other magical goodies, including his ever-smoking pipe, which can blow smoke into any shape he wants. It's a good thing he's adept in a fight, given he has to contend with and avoid spells like Anger of the Noonday Sun, which blast him with natural sunlight that he's still fast enough to dodge. Helping him defend against threats like these is his signature spell, Effulgent Apparition, which creates 29 defensive orbs around him, each of which is capable of catching and deleting a spell aimed his way. Handy, given wizards like Elm do need to maintain concentration on their spells, and their casting can be interrupted if they're disturbed. Some other spells are even capable of calling down beams of light from other stars. Makes sense Elm and his spells would be so fast. Kezef the Chaos Hound, a powerful monster way below Elminster in power, can run so fast across the universe it's like instant teleportation. Though nowadays, Elm rarely troubles himself with adventuring on his own. Yeah, he'd much rather enlist up-and-coming adventurers to do the dirty work for him. But if he does get involved, you can bet your ass he's not stopping until the problem is solved. Last time someone thought they killed him, it just made him look more badass for a while. The only thing cooler than a wizard is an undead wizard. Elminster has fought all manner of threats, from the arcane to the divine to the infernal and beyond. He's always seen it through to the end. He's gone on more quests than we could ever hope to list, and knows more spells than even that. But at the end of the day, the crux of Elminster is that he truly embodies what it means to be a wizard, saving the world, guiding new heroes, and kicking back at the end of the day with his trusty pipe. There will always be a light in the darkness. There will always be hope at the end of the tunnel. No matter what cataclysm comes your way, know that the greatest wizard the world has ever seen is watching over you, and everyone else. No evil dares to challenge the very symbol of magic itself, and that symbol's name is Elminster Amab.
And yet, an ocean born in lonely hours. Come ebb, come flow, come all that is beyond the breadth of our dominion. Be a moon unto yourself. Even the waves of fate can break upon the shores of will.
Alright, the combatants are set. We've run the data through all possibilities. It's time to roll initiative!
Ah, you've arrived. Earlier than I was expecting, I must admit.
Aye, my friend. You, of all people, should know. This is precisely when I intended to reveal myself.
Hardly a reveal now, is it? Do not think your scrying has gone unnoticed.
Ah, skipping the formalities, then. Allow me to make my point brief. You have in the possession of your party an artifact of quite some power. An artifact the world would be better off without.
Ah, I am glad you at least see the light in that regard.
However, I do not think your capabilities are adequate for destroying it. Who knows what manner of darkness may unfold while you and your companions simply walk to Mordor. No, I am here to take the ring myself. I will see to its destruction immediately.
I am afraid I cannot let you do that, Omar. It would be foolish to place the ring's corruption in the hands of someone as powerful as you.
I thought you might say that. I really do hate to do this, and I promise to bring you back later. But for now, I wish you gone. Well then, on to business.
Fool of a mage! I will not allow yet another to succumb.
For someone trying to save my life, you could be a little less lethal.
Your death would be preferable to whatever that accursed artifact would do to you, both for the world and for yourself.
I command thee, halt!
I am afraid you forced my hand, Omar.
And I'm afraid I haven't even shown mine yet. Farewell, Gandalf. Or should I say, Olurin?
It will take more than mere parlor tricks, my friend.
Well, I admit, I'm impressed.
You will be granted no such casting time, Omar.
By Mistra.
Moria?
Close. Fandelver, actually. Just need to buy some time. Out of clones. I can feel it. Tenser, old friend. Don't fail me now.
What manner of magic? I will not falter!
No!
You shall not fly, you fool!
What? I'm sorry. Did you think the dragon was me?
Enough deception, Elminster.
Aye, not to worry. I've bought all the time I need. Let's try this again, shall we? I'll let you out once this is all done. But for now, I have some business to attend to. There. Now, was that so hard? Now, fireworks, was it?
KO! I don't think he's gonna be able to make it to next session, Wiz. This fight was fascinating to work out a verdict for, so let's not waste any time and get into it. When it came to sheer power, both were pretty evenly matched. Gandalf could compare to other Maya that could move the sun, and Elminster's in the same league of power as beings like Solar's and the Thief of Legend, who could cleave stars apart and snatch them out of the sky respectively. So, with both able to contend with entities working on a celestial scale, neither had a clear edge in strengths, though of course that's before Gandalf survives. Remember, each time Gandalf gets revived, he comes back stronger than before. Elminster would be working against the clock to find a way to put Gandalf down for good before he became too powerful, which is a lot easier said than done. Gandalf's ability to reform from just his soul meant that most of Elm's damaging arsenal, even the Silver Fire, wasn't going to cut it, and the Secret Fire would ensure Elm wouldn't be able to destroy the soul itself. Likewise, Narya would let Gandalf resist Elminster's mind control option, and his ability as a Maya to reshape his body would let him counter any shapeshifting Elm tried to pull on him. Even trump cards like Wish and Unnamed would likely be ineffective, seeing as the beings reviving Gandalf are the ones writing the laws of reality that those spells try to alter. So, on the surface, Gandalf shuts down almost the entirety of Elminster's options. How'd he lose? Well, you said it yourself. Almost the entirety of Elminster's options. The Sage of Shadowdale still had a few tricks up his sleeve to be able to keep Gandalf down. Yeah, sure, but how likely is it that he actually uses them before Gandalf nukes him? Very likely, actually. Let's talk speed. While Gandalf can keep up with Balrogs that reach speeds of Mach 30, Elminster can dodge spells like Anger of the Noonday Sun, requiring speeds approaching that of light. That's not even mentioning those interstellar beams, or Kezef being able to run across the universe at the speed of teleportation. No matter how you look at it, Elminster is way too fast for Gandalf to reliably pin down. And even if Gandalf did get a hit in, those pesky 29 orbs from Effulgent Operation would mean Gandalf would need not just 1, but 30 hits to put Elminster down, even once he became powerful enough to one-shot. And of course, even after that, Elminster has backup clone bodies that could instantly teleport back into the fray once his consciousness was transferred. Elminster's survivability was frankly absurd, and he'd be able to more than outmaneuver Gandalf long enough to formulate a plan of attack. A plan like imprisonment. For as many resistances as Gandalf had, he really didn't have any way to defend against suspended animation. Revive, Soul Protection, Narya, none of it really covered him in this case. Given how Gandalf would also still technically be alive, albeit dead for all intents and purposes, it's also unlikely any higher powers would intervene. And while imprisonment may take a hot minute to cast, Elminster had plenty of ways to stall while he set it up. Illusion, summon, visibility, you get the idea. To his credit, Gandalf was the superior warrior, but even then, spells like Tensor's Transformation leveled the playing field. At the end of the day, regardless of how powerful either mage was, Elminster had so many tricks up his sleeve it'd be almost impossible for anyone to keep up, especially with the speed gap. Yeah, even being incredibly generous and saying Gandalf would be able to one-shot Elminster from the get-go, Elm would still be plenty capable of avoiding any harm until he worked out a plan. Gandalf was a mighty foe, and was capable of resisting most of what Elminster threw at him, but Elminster's near bottomless book of tricks, blinding combat speeds, and mystical defenses were enough to make sure that the Istari wouldn't be coming back. Sorry, Gandalf, but when it came to this skill check, you did not pass. The winner is Elminster Amar.